topic I wanted to talk to you about today is knees. So when I move forward on a given knee, let's say I'm choosing a direction vector, right? This happens all the time in dance and you don't even think about it. But if I'm being intentional about this, let's say I choose that way, right? And I'm going to step with my right leg. I want to make sure that my whole leg from the hip socket is pointing that way, at least at the start of the step. And that's because the way you absorb energy is through your calf bouncing like that and your knee extending. So that the knee is doing the opposite of the calf, and that makes a really great active spring. However, if I decide to move this way, what ends up absorbing the energy is the bend of my knee, the roll of my ankle, and my hip. Hip is okay if you're doing something like that, but the problem is when you have a bent leg and you move and the vector is perpendicular to the line of your knee and your ankle, then the absorption happens in your ankle and your knee. And that's going to damage the side of your knee, inside side of your knee, usually outside. If we're moving outside like this would damage the outside because I'm putting too much force on something my knee isn't meant to handle. And usually that would be the outside of the ankle that would get hurt. Like Taylor has outside of the ankle problems because she did this exact thing. You have outside of the knee problems because you have a stable ankle but not a stable knee. So that's what happens when you choose a direction, right and forward, and then your knee and leg are not pointing that direction. Like I could point my foot that way, but not my knee. This is also a problem. Knee and foot need to face that direction. If you had to pick one between the knee and the foot, I would say this is more okay than the foot pointing the correct way and the knee going the wrong way, or the foot pointing the correct way and the knee going in. The knee is the most likely to have problems, at least for you and for myself. So how do you do this in West Coast swing? That's my next thing that I want to explain. So in my anchor step, I'm thinking, so the four of a move, I'm moving along this knee. And then I go back, so I'm thinking back, which means my whole leg is straight back. So 5 and then I also start back on my 6, but because it's only for the absorption period that this needs to be aligned, I can turn it to end on 6. And then I can take my 1 back, turn it, take my 2 on my right leg forward, knee is aligned, and then I turn it, and I have 2 options here. I can turn slightly and end 3 and 4. There's the 3, the vector is along this knee because I'm coming sort of that way and sort of back, so it's a little bit of a diagonal. So 3, and then I'm moving forward, and then I'm finishing 4. So that's open knee, right side pass. So that would be 1, the vector is this way, my whole leg is aligned that way, and then I'm pivoting after that initial impact moment, because the impact is where you're going to get injured. And then 2, impact moment, I'm aligned, and then I can pivot after that. So as long as I've absorbed most of the force, I'm good to pivot. And then my choices were again, something like 3, because my energy is that way. Or if I want to pivot a little bit less, it would be 1, 2, and then like a backwards. So I'm using the backwards angle of my knee to accept this. I'm using the backwards angle of my knee to accept this force. Whereas earlier I was using the forwards angle in a 3 and 4 to accept the force. What you don't want to do, which is what almost everyone does because let's all get injured, is 1, 2, and then they do a half pivot, and then they send their energy 3 right into the side of their knee, and then they go and 4 right into the side of their knee, and then they go 5 and right into the side of their knee 6, because let's break our knees. So how do you not do this? I personally recommend, because turnout is appreciated in West Coast swing, that you start with a turned in anchor and then swivel it open, and then you step back One is just going to be easier. This is going to be what most people expect. If you want to pull this on someone, that's okay. That'd be like a really open type of shaping, but standard shaping should be 5 and 6, 1, 2, and I would say the open shaping you should do this one. You should do the open shaping, where your knee comes out and then out. That gives a really good turnout look, really good body shaping. A lot of the higher level people recommend it. But the one that most people do, if you want to do the one most people do and not hurt yourself, is 5 and 6. Vector is aligned this way, feet are aligned this way, and then I pivot. Now vector is aligned this way, force vector, foot. And then I pivot a little bit so that I can move this way, and then I pivot a little bit, and some people will stop themselves in this main leg, and then they'll send themselves backwards, forwards, forwards. And then they'll go backwards, forwards, backwards. So all together, those options are, the open option is 5 and 6 going along this vector. And then you would take a pivot for 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. And you have to pivot 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. That's full turnout for right side pass. The more turned in right side pass all together is 5 and 6, 1, 2,